Okay, so Ant-Man and Wasp, one of the first, I want to say, I think it was like the third movie review I did on this channel, so it was the original Ant-Man, so I guess it makes sense to be coming around back. Basically, if you don't remember from Infinity War, Scott Lang basically took a plea deal for his actions in that for his actions in Captain America: Civil War. It was mentioned both Scott Lang and Clint Barton took plea deals and are basically under house arrest in the United States because of Scott's actions in Germany. He is basically on the outs with Hank and Hope, who just kind of vanished and are also on the run from the law because it was PIM technology that was used, and so it's all kind of blown up in their face. Scott is still under house arrest. He still gets to see his daughter Cassie regularly. The FBI agent who's assigned to Scott's case is Jimmy Woo, who's a character from the comics. I think he goes back to the 1950s. He is kind of an Asian he's sort of a cross between the spies from the Fu Manchu series and Nick Fury. And then he popped up again a few years back in a book called Agents of Atlas. So, so it's a nice little reference to them there. Scott is still running the ex-con security consulting firm with Luis and the other two whose names escape me, T.I. and Russian guy. And things have kind of been a little hard because they haven't been getting as many accounts, and so it's on the verge of collapsing. But as this is happening, Scott gets this weird vision. He's back in the quantum realm that Janet Van Dyne vanished into, and he gets this weird kind of memory from Jan of her looking for Hope, playing hide and seek, and he manages to get back in contact with Hank and Hope, and he discovers that Hope is now donning her own superhero outfit as the Wasp, and they have built a quantum tunnel to get down to the quantum realm and maybe see if they can actually locate Jan. And they have briefly activated the tunnel, and it seems that might have triggered the flashback that happened, and so they need Scott to possibly, they might need to use Scott in order to locate Jan. However, they've also attracted the attention of Ghost, who is Ava Starr, a daughter of Elias Starr, a former employee of Hank Pym, who Pym says he was stealing secrets, but Ava says Pym betrayed them, and he was also trying to build a quantum tunnel. It exploded. Ava got caught in the explosion. Her parents were killed, but she was left barely tangible unless she can really focus or wear a containment suit, but even that is now starting to fail, so she is working with someone to hopefully extract some quantum particles that will heal her and enable her to basically not die. Ghost attacks Pym and steals the lab. This is the scene where the building shrinks down to a little bit. Yeah, the lab they use is a building that they shrink down and they can transport anywhere. And it's at this point that Pym and Hank, Hope, and Scott go to Bill Foster, Goliath, if you remember my review of the Ant-Man and the Wasp comic. And he directs them to a possible way to track at this, but it turns out that Foster is actually working with Ghost. He met her as a little girl, and unfortunately wound up causing her to become a S.H.I.E.L.D. operative instead of trying to cure her, and he's now trying to make up for her by curing her so she can live. At this point, there's also this subplot with a character named Birch, who is basically a crime lord that Hope was trying to basically use to buy some black market equipment for them to build the quantum tunnel. and he discerns their identity, and now he's kind of after it too, because he knows that quantum is going to be the next big thing. It's bigger than cryptocurrency and all the other stuff, so he wants to make a killing in that. Unfortunately, it's like his part is not bad. Unfortunately, he's the least interesting part of the movie for me. It's like I want to know about trying to rescue Jan and all that stuff. I don't care about the criminal underbelly who keeps interfering into everything in the film. Anyway, eventually, Hank, Hope, and Scott get the lab back. They're in there, they're working, they turn the tunnel on, and it doesn't quite work, but it works just enough for Jan to get another message to Scott. Basically, she manages to possess Scott's body just enough to work out the coordinates to try to rescue her. It's at this point, though, the FBI, Ghost, and Birch are all closing in to try to fix everything, to try to get the technology, and everything gets to interfere. Eventually, Hank and Hope get arrested. Scott breaks them out, and Hank basically winds up volunteering to go into the quantum realm to try to locate Jan, because it's probably the only way it's going to work. Scott and Hope get left on the outside, so that's where the big chase scene through San Francisco happens, with all the vehicles enlarging and shrinking, and the Pez dispenser with the Hello Kitty on it. And eventually, Hank does manage to locate Jan. It's at this point that Ghost sort of interferes with them trying to return, but they manage to return. Jan is played by Michelle Pfeiffer, by the way, and Jan is able to partially heal Ghost, but she needs more quantum particles to do so. But she heals him enough, and Ghost basically kind of reforms. She considers turning herself in, but Bill Foster decides to stay and wants to help her too. So yeah, they're not quite as villainous. They do have kind of a heel face turn a little bit into there. And after that, yeah, well, basically that's it. Scott's probationary period is up. Kind of the other running subplot through this is, again, the FBI is trying to prove that Scott is having adventures as Ant-Man, even though he's not really supposed to, because he's under house arrest. And his house arrest is actually supposed to be ending within 3 days. And eventually, but he manages to prove that even when he becomes Giant Man in the middle of the public and everyone sees him, he's able to prove that he was at his house the whole time, so it couldn't have possibly been him. And he gets taken off his probation, and he and Hope resume their relationship. There's also some subplots, a minor subplot with Cassie, where she talks about her aspirations, that she wants to work with her father and, use the powers of the PIM particles as well. But and yeah, there are rumors that they are eventually going to do that, but I don't know. Obviously, they're not going to use the actresses right now. They're going to age her up, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Like, it would be nice, but I would rather see it, maybe as like the ending coda to Ant-Man 3, and just do like a little time skip into the future. Anyway, and it's at that point the credits roll, and then we get the mid-credits scene, which is they have a smaller version of the quantum tunnel now. They want to use it to get more quantum particles to help heal Ghost. Scott goes into the quantum realm, is collecting everything, and then suddenly his radio feed is cut, and he can't hear from Hank, Hope, or Jan. And we cut to the normal realm, for lack of a better term, and yeah, they were taken by Thanos' Infinity Wave, Infinity Gauntlet wish, basically. And then we get the post-credit scene where, again, you see Scott's apartment that he's sharing with Luis is also empty, and I don't know if Cassie made it through or not. Like, I mean, when I heard that the ending was going to throw people for a loop, it's like, oh, I wonder, they're not going to kill Cassie off, are they? Maybe they did. maybe they killed off his ex-wife and his her husband too. So I can't say for certain, but then it says on the bottom, Ant-Man and the Wasp will return? Question mark. And yeah, that's pretty much how it ends. Overall, it was a pretty good movie. I'm still one of the few. I know a lot of people like the Michael Pena character Luis, but I think he was utilized better in this than he was in the first one. He only does the whole where he tells the whole shtick, where he tells the whole story. Where it's like, well, I heard from this person, who 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 said from this person. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, like that's only done once, thankfully, and so. Yeah, it wasn't as annoying as it was the first time. I think, like I said, I think he was better utilized. Again, part of his plot was the security consulting firm is kind of failing, and they need to land this big account. And unfortunately, all of the actions kind of interfere with that. But they actually wind up benefiting from it because basically Louise and the other two take down Birch and his men and turn them over to the police, and because of that, they now have favorable press, so they've landed a whole bunch more offers, and now the business is successful. So that's kind of it. So like I said, overall it is better than the first. I do think it had better character interaction from the first. I know Michael Douglas has had an on-again, off-again battle with throat cancer, and I think that kind of affected him in the first one. He's much, much better in this one. He's much more rounded. Like, you could tell he's still bitter with Scott over what happened in Captain America Civil War, but it wasn't... But he's not, like, too terribly bitter. He's... Unlike he is with Bill Foster, because there's running through with them, too, that they were on the outs, and that Pym has a tendency to crack the whip a little too much and turn people off of him. But in this case, but I think it comes across more that he's just really driven, especially when he's trying to find Jan. And I think that works a little bit better. Hope, I think, is a better character once she, again, is allowed to become a superhero and do what she does, and proves it really well. One, she's better than Scott. She's a more effective hero than Scott, but she still works great with Scott. So that works well. Obviously, Paul Rudd is really good in that. Paul Rudd acting as Michelle Pfeiffer is really good in that. Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet is underutilized, unfortunately. I'm not saying it's bad. I liked when she was on there, but it's not, unfortunately, we don't get a huge sample size. Obviously, I don't know what they're going to do with... I'm guessing Scott could still manage to find his way back for Avengers 4, or whatever they're calling it now. Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, whatever. So that could be interesting. You know, would have maybe liked to see him having something of a... maybe like a banter with Hawkeye or something. We could have gotten a brief update on him. Because we don't know how he's going to be affected by the Thanos wave. Like I said, we still don't know what happened with Cassie and the ex-wife and the new husband. Maybe they're gone as well. I think it seemed to imply that. And so there are some questions that are going to be leading into this that are going to provide to be interesting. Obviously, the next Marvel movie is Captain Marvel, which actually takes place back in the 90s, and so might tie in a little bit to Infinity War, but not until I guess we're not going to know until the Infinity War sequel comes out. So overall, I'm going to give this kind of an A minus. I don't want to go quite down to B because I did enjoy this more than the first one, but I don't really want to go up into an A territory because this wasn't as good as Infinity War or Black Panther. So yeah, A minus.
Coming Sunday, April 8th.
She's dead. Wrapped in plastic.
11:30 a.m., February 24th. Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
The Los Angeles Times says Twin Peaks is certainly like nothing else on television.
As W.C. Fields would say, I'd rather be here than Philadelphia.
The Washington Post calls it unprecedented. This you gotta see.
Bobby, did you kill Laura Palmer?
Sunday, April 8th, from David Lynch, Twin Peaks.
Okay, trailer time, and unfortunately it's a bunch of retreads again, but there's one I'm going to talk about, and we'll get to it. First, we had Skyscraper again. That'll be the movie I'm seeing next week, at least for now, unless someone comes through and really, really wants me to review Hotel Transylvania 3. After that, we had Alpha. This is the one I wanted to talk about because they changed the tone of this trailer. I got this one back in, I want to say it was November. I can't remember if it was Thor Ragnarok, Justice League, or Star Wars. But yeah, it was one of those three that I saw at that time. And I saw the trailer for that. And it was like this kind of dark, ominous man against nature movie. This kid getting separated from his tribe and working with a wolf that had been separated from its pack, and them sort of fighting the elements. And it was like really kind of this dark adventure type deal. And this new trailer, they changed the tone completely. They made it into this whimsical family feature, even though it's still rated PG-13. They made it, like I said, it's a whimsical family feature. It's about how man tamed the wolf to become the first dog, basically. Yeah, that's the whole story. And it's done in kind of this, like I said, it was first done as like a boy without his tribe, a wolf without his pack. No, come see how, and that's literally like it does. It does like this total shift in the trailer. I'm like, wow, that was weird. After that, we had Darkest Minds again, Mission Impossible Fallout again, Christopher Robin again, and rounding things off, we had The Meg again. So anyway, next video up is going to be the random trade review on Abyss. Next movie review will be Skyscraper. After that will be the Extreme Rules recap and review. That'll be on the Monday after Skyscraper, which was the 16th. Skyscraper comes out on the 13th. Yeah, see you all then. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? Even if it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else? Check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.